Good morning. It's early, so hopefully everyone has their coffee. Thank you very much for coming out. I'd like to show a quick video of our facility. Willie, if you would show that, please.
How do we get everything that the client needs right in one area?
Imagine the efficiency and cost savings of having everything that goes into this package literally at your fingertips. That's the concept behind the New Albany Personal Care Health and Beauty Park. All the links of the supply chain leading to Excel's final assembly lines are right here.
Before this park, this was coming from China. This bottle was coming from 4 and 5 states away. This bottle was coming 4 and 5 states away, the opposite direction. The caps and the pumps many states away.
But now, in this park, there are top-of-the-line manufacturers for every piece of that package.
The best-in-class suppliers are all working together to bring the products to market faster, less expensive, and with a minimized carbon footprint.
But the beauty park offers more than speed and efficiency. Because the components are being made a stone's throw from the assembly line, the client can stop production at any time to adjust for always changing consumer tastes.
The merchant has the ability to order on demand immediately. Who wouldn't want that?
As an Excel client, your risks and costs are minimized. And as more and more manufacturers set up shop here, the packaging options will be limitless.
Every single month, the suppliers in this park, we get together and we talk about, not about what we've accomplished. No one's built that way in this park. It's what are we going to do next? I don't think anybody knows just how far we can take this innovative idea of companies coming together.
Absolutely the best in the industry for contract packaging and hand assembly, Excel.
So that was done about 4 or 5 years ago, and I'll talk more about that here as I go through the presentation. But there's a couple of quotes that I like to talk about. Quality is never an accident. It's always a result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and skillful execution. It represents the wise choice of many alternatives, the cumulative experience of many masters of craftsmanship. Quality also marks the search for the ideal after necessity has been satisfied and mere usefulness achieved. Quality is paramount when it comes to Excel. You have to have flawless merchandise on the shelves, and you have to have consistency. If you don't, then the consumer will go through and they'll pick out which is the best and the most flawless merchandise, leaving markdowns, and pretty much the merchant will have not they won't make their numbers. So leadership involves remembering one's past mistakes, an analysis of today's achievements, and a well-grounded imagination in visualizing the problem of the future. A leader has many hats. You have to treat everyone in your organization with respect. You also have to see vision, and you have to be really looking out to the future and really taking care of your organization. In order to lead, you have to make sure that everyone in the organization is being trained and developed. It's not about you, but it's about everyone around you. So it's not the going out of port, but the coming in that determines the success of a voyage. So really, it's about the journey, and it's about everyone, again, around you, and how are you leading that ship? So these quotes are a great lead-in into my discussion today, as I believe you have to have the quality as your #1 priority in business. You need to be able to lead and learn from your mistakes, and the end result will determine your future. It is okay to make mistakes. It's okay for your team to make mistakes, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. But you just can't make the same mistakes over and over. And it's okay for your team to make mistakes, because if they're not making mistakes, they're not learning. So a little bit of history. I grew up in Dublin, Ohio. I graduated from Dublin High School when there was one Dublin High School and only the little bit of Dublin High School. I like to say that I've done a 360 when I moved out to New Albany, where my business did, because there was only cornfields on Sawmill Road, and when I built the building in New Albany, there's only cornfields out there, but now there's like 18 other companies out there. I did go to the Ohio State University. Otterbein is a beautiful, beautiful school, but I did go to Ohio State. I got my BS in Fashion and Retail Studies and a minor in Marketing. I did have the opportunity to study in Paris, which was a wonderful opportunity. It was just a fashion study tour, but I highly recommend if you can study overseas, it's a wonderful opportunity. I love ongoing education. I'm constantly looking for different types of seminars, courses, so I have studied at Harvard and Kellogg. I'm married. I have two beautiful boys. I have a senior in high school, and I have a 7th grader. So I started very late in life because I'm not going to tell you my age. You'll probably figure it out here in a little bit. But my baby was my business. So let me tell you about my career. I think you guys heard, but I did start at L Brands. I had a very brief stint at Bristol Myers Squibb because I was actually running parallel, starting Excel and working up at Bristol Myers. So I was a 72nd corporate employee at Bath & Body Works. I was an assistant buyer, and then I was promoted to an associate buyer. I was in charge of fine fragrance and home fragrance. So how Excel really started was I had outsourced many promotions and gift sets, and I could not get my gift sets assembled to my quality standards. And I literally would write spec sheets. I would go and visit the different contract packaging centers, and as soon as I would leave, like, crap would hit the fan. I mean, I kid you not. I mean, they would come back in, and I'd be like, how in the world would these things be falling apart? So I would be in the DCs, and I kid you not, this would be like at 11 o'clock at night, because I was working 72 hours a week without a Sunday off. Ever, the entire time that I worked there, because back in the day, so this was in the early 90s, we didn't have computer-generated reports. So I would have to go in on Sundays for the touch-base report on Monday mornings and have to calculate probably over 1,000 different calculations and have to do, okay, this week to last week, this year to last year, on every single SKU. That's a stock keeping unit, so every product that was on the shelves, which was a lot. But so I was literally in the DC opening up boxes going, these will go to A doors, these will go to B doors, and these will go to C doors. So there would be consistent, not so great looking products on the shelves. So I would have to go into touch base and explain why my promotions were not meeting their objectives. So anyways, that's when I had the aha moment that obviously there was a opportunity to start a business here. So I wrote a business plan and presented it to Roy Jones, who is the head of manufacturing, saying I could do this better. So I am going to touch base here on Linda Maroos. Linda Maroos was the GMM. She was an unbelievable boss, probably the best boss that I've ever had in my entire life. So there was Linda, and then there was me. So there was a huge gap between that, because we were so young and we were growing by 200% a year. I mean, we were opening stores all over the place, and that was part of the reason why I was working so many hours. So Linda, this was the biggest mistake I've ever made in my career, and how she treated me. So I talk about mistakes because I think it's very important to learn. Everybody can talk about their successes, right? And everybody can gloat, but you don't learn from those. You can, but I can talk about some of those, but the most important is the ones that you learn from. So back in the day, when Limited had, Victoria's Secrets, they even had Lane Bryant back then. So they had all their brands, and they even had Abercrombie back then. Everything was very siloed. So we were all super competitive. Now they share data across, all the categories. But we were very guarded with all of our information about all of our promotions. So Linda said, Tara, I want you to fax, yes, fax, over the promotions, the fine fragrance promotion, because we were doing a co-branding, a co-promotion with Gingham. And so the older people in the room will remember Gingham. Younger people have no idea what it is, but it was a fragrance to the merchant over there. So little old me, young me, went over to the fax machine, and I faxed the entire promotions of the entire company over to Victoria's Secrets, not just the fine fragrance. So Linda came back and she was like, I just got a phone call that you fax the entire promotions, the entire, company's promotions. I said, well, yeah, you told me to fax it. I turned completely pale white, and she's like, oh my God. So of course Beth Pritchard comes flying out of her office, who is the CEO, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? So Linda took the fall, said it was her fault. She said she faxed it. I literally was running to the bathroom. I was absolutely hysterical and crying because I thought I was going to absolutely be fired. But she took the fall for that, said that I reported to her. It was her fault, not my fault. So that's a story of how to treat people. I had another boss, unfortunately, who would put Post-it notes all over my desk and said hot, 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 hot. And that would be at about 11 o'clock at night. And I would come in the morning and I'd say, my gosh, well, could you prioritize this for me? And she'd say, well, if you don't know what the priority is, and you don't know what you're doing. So there's two different huge stories here, how to treat people and how not to treat people. So Linda taught me how to treat people. The other person taught me how not to treat people. So I'm very grateful to Linda. That was 25 years ago. I will never forget Linda Maroos. She made that big of an impact on my life. So one thing I want to tell you is be a sponge. The younger kids in this room, or young adults, excuse me, I don't want to call you kids. Young adults in this room, be a sponge. If they ask you to do a cross-lateral position, take it. Because they're asking you to literally do a new skill set. So when I was a buyer, they asked me to go into product development. If I wouldn't have gone into product development, I would have never started Excel. It was my passion. I absolutely loved it. So if you're thinking you're not getting a promotion, that's not the case. They're trying to develop a new skill set. Join committees. This gets you exposed to other individuals in the corporation. If you don't join committees, you're narrowing your network. So absolutely join committees. Volunteer. There are so many people that are high up in the corporation that sit on the head of those committees. They champion those volunteer committees. So I already talked about my aha moment. So you guys heard about that I started in 1,200 square feet. I started with my mother. So it's a very sweet story. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment. I lived with, probably shouldn't say this, but I lived with my husband, my boyfriend at the time. And I approached my mother, and my mother is very detail-oriented. And my dad laughed and said, oh, that'll be a nice little side business for you and your mom. It did them very well. So my mom and I started with a $27,000 loan for my father. They owned 40%. My mom and dad owned 40%. I owned 60%. It took me 9 years to buy them out, by the way. My husband was there on day 2. So we started in 1,200 square feet. Literally within a year, we were in 5,000 square feet. Then we had 12 buildings within 3 years. And then we built a 300,000 square foot facility in Lewis Center. it just was crazy. And I've been beyond blessed, and it was because of Bath & Body Works. Because when I approached Ray Jones, I said, you're losing a merchant, but you're gaining a lifelong supplier who understands flawless merchandise on the shelves. Will you please be my first client? And they were so gracious, so I'm forever indebted and grateful to Les Wexner. He has seeded so many, and I don't want to say seeded because it wasn't financial, but he has like put his stamp on so many entrepreneurs and said, yes, go ahead, go out, because he was an entrepreneur, and really committed to so many entrepreneur success in this community. However, I understand the importance of diversification. So, we don't just do kitting, we do packaging engineering, we also do thermoforming, so we thermoform plastics. We actually just built a clean room, so now we're manufacturing personal care products, so bath fizzes, bath tablets. We do all of the food tools that go on net jets as jets. We do the face masks and safety goggles that are in Lowe's and Home Depot. So very diverse, like there's so many different things. So if you saw the plant, you'd be like, oh, I had no idea that that's being done here, because there's so many different things that we can do. One thing that I can tell you is the importance of the golden rule. We treat everyone equal in Excel. One thing that I'm very proud of is we have 22 different languages and 18 different cultures. It was when we were on Wilson Bridge Road, in our 14,000 square foot facility, and I'll never forget when we signed that on the dotted line. I looked at David and I said, how are we ever going to fill this place? And he's like, we're going to fill it, and we're going to fill many more. So he was so cute because I was so scared. But Natat walked into that office, and I'll never forget, and David said, are you here for an interview? And she said, nope, I'm here to interview you. Well, you have my attention. And she said, our business is closing down, and who we're working for, and they're moving to California. And I'm representing 60 Vietnamese, and I'm trying to find a company that is good enough for us. And he said, so they talked for a good half an hour, and lo and behold, we were honored and humbled that they came to work for us. So that started how we got to have our wonderful melting pot as it is today. So we have praying stations, we have diversity days, we have salsa Fridays. I mean, we celebrate Kwanzaa, we celebrate Chinese New Year. I mean, it is very special. So we have a very special culture at Excel that I'm extremely proud of. Integrity, respect, ethics, character, reputation, professionalism. These are all paramount. You can use it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, but it can be gone overnight. So you always, if you have to pause and think about a decision that you're making, don't do it. Just don't. One thing I want to say is preparation. Proper planning prevents proper planning prevents, I can't remember it. Poor performance. There it is. It's the 5 Ps. So one thing I want to talk about is marketing materials. So this is actually my PowerPoint presentation. I'm not going to go through this whole thing. I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. But you have to make sure that you always have a nice PowerPoint presentation. So this is my facility. The little 500,000 square foot facility. We got 20,000 racks over here, and this is the floor here. There's 100,000 square foot mezzanine over here, and then the production lines are underneath there. We're constantly changing it though, and I like to call it the Willy Wonka engineering, because the guys there, I call them my MacGyvers. We have 16 engineers there, and they're constantly tinkering and making widgets on the production line to extrapolate every single cost that they can to maximize production efficiencies. And that's really what our differentiators are. Everybody asks, well, how can you beat China on costs? And I say, well, because the engineers are brilliant. It doesn't have anything to do with me. It's about the team. It's about the staff. I mean, my dad was an executive recruiter. He owned his own firm for years, so I get the entrepreneur bug, honestly. But he taught me to hire 2 levels above the position that you're hiring for, and hire the best talent that you possibly can. Surround yourself with the best, and your life is a heck of a lot easier. But they are amazing, and I'm very proud of our team. Very, very proud. So this is the personal care campus. It is the only campus like it in the world. And it's right here in New Albany, Ohio. So it is modeled after the automotive industry. So it is the entire supply chain of bringing personal care products to market. So you have the injection and the blow molders, which make the bottles and the tubes. You have the closures, which is the caps, and then the actuators, which is the sprays. And then you have the fillers, which obviously make the liquids. And then you have us, which is the end of the supply chain that put everything together. You also have the wallflowers, which everybody knows what a wallflower is, I hope. Maybe the guys don't. Okay, that's the air fresheners that plug into the walls. And then you also have candles out there, alien candles. And then you also have distribution. Oh, and you also have the label manufacturers. And then you have Amazon, which is behind us, which is a data center. You're not supposed to know that. And then you have Facebook that's coming across the street from us. Does everybody know that Facebook is coming to New Albany? So that's kind of cool. But anyways, this is a whole paradigm shift from push to pull manufacturing, which is what I was talking about. So back in the day, we used to get like 100,000 baskets from China. And we actually have been to China many, many times to teach them how to nest baskets, to be more efficient, to bring them over in containers, and how to do the EPS blocks and put them in. That EPS is styrofoam, just by the way, so then we can reuse them. So we're always looking for how to minimize the carbon footprint and to be more eco-friendly, because that's part of us. Because we have balers and we have chippers in our facility, and our facility is LEED certified. So we are extremely cautious because of the corrugated on how we're always looking for ways to reduce the carbon footprint. That is really important to us, by the way. We use reusable cartons all throughout this facility, so we're not using all that corrugate, so we're minimizing costs too for our clients. So this paradigm shift from push to pull is what I was talking about. So instead of doing 100,000 units of one flavor, or say 3 flavors, meaning like vanilla sugar or Japanese cherry blossom or whatever, so we can do like say 10,000 and push them out to the stores, and then see what the consumer is buying, and then we do just-in-time manufacturing. So we can do this in days instead of weeks, so that there's no inventory on the shelves. So it takes the risk and the guesswork out of what the consumer is buying. Nothing's like this ever. It will, obviously, because now that we've done it, somebody else will do it. So these are our services. So as is what I talked about earlier, it's been a long way since just doing kitting, putting products in just little bags. These are some of my clients. These are some of the retailers that I ship out to. Okay, so we do have 3D printers, and we have all this fun, as I was talking about, we have all the little toys that they can play with. We have a very robust quality assurance system. Very important is technology. We actually were one of 8 companies worldwide that received a Nuology award, and most of them were multi-billion-dollar companies. And the reason that we received this is because we do infant formula. You probably know the company that's the largest company in the world that's headquartered here, that I do all their infant formula. So I have to be able to hit a button and know where the product is worldwide. I ship to 60 countries. So if there's a recall, I batch code everything. So it's kind of important to know if it's kind of a baby's life is at stake on that, right? So this is just a case study on the cartoners, and I'm going to do a really short video, but this cartoner we built in-house. This cartoner would have cost our client $250,000. We built it for $18,000. So this is again one of our differentiators, is our engineers built this, and they built it, and I want to say, I don't know, 18 days or something like that. I don't know, no, it's 12 days, $18,000. And it was one of those projects that wasn't going to last forever, right? So it's like, that's what we do. That's our differentiator. So I'm going to do a really quick video. This is kind of fun. I think it shows a gift card. In Sri Lanka, they were doing this. They could only do 5,000 units a day. We built these widgets. We ended up doing 60,000 units a day. And they also had a lot of defects because they were taking the sleeve off of the gift card. And then, I'm not sure, the pneumatics. We built all these pneumatics in there. They had 13 million that they couldn't put the cap together. It was going to cost them 60 cents a unit. We did it for 2 cents a unit by building these pneumatics. So they were taking the sleeves off and then putting the glue dot on, and we built these little widgets, and then we have a laser beam eye for the glue. So I mean, obviously we didn't build the laser beam eye and the glue, but we built all this on the line together. Not me, because I'm not the engineer, but but these are just kind of fun things that I like to showcase. And then this is the cartoner. Whoever the engineer was that actually designed this box the box is pretty, however, to get it together was a little bit challenging. So we built the way that the cartoner comes up, and then how it's automated in the gluing. This isn't long, sorry. I know it might be a little dry for you. It actually is exciting to me. I know that, being a merchant, I love seeing all these products on the lines, because I know where it's going. So obviously ISO 9000 is extremely important because that's about quality. So this is a pneumatic. We actually built this. Which just blows my mind that these engineers can actually do this. And then our 3D printers made these trays. So it's amazing how quickly that they can do this. Those 13 million units equated to over $135 million in retail sales. So if those wouldn't have been done, the launch wouldn't have happened in Victoria's Secrets. So that, people ask me, like when I travel to trade shows, they say, oh, so do you do that out of your garage? And I said, well, it's a garage, I guess. It's just kind of a big garage. Thank you, Willie. So we talked about the temper agency. So the temper agency, we founded in 2012, and it became out of a necessary need. It's our largest spend internally, and we couldn't get people out to the beauty park. When we moved, it was only a 20-minute move, but we lost 50% of our labor force overnight. So it was actually absolutely crippling, quite frankly. We lost our shirts in 2011 when we moved out to the beauty park. And basically David and I had to use almost all of our life savings to survive. So it's amazing some of the things that you go through. You have your peaks and your valleys. We've been through 3 valleys in 23 years. So as an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter, if it's in the beginning, it's in the middle, or any part of the life cycle. There's always a valley, and if everybody says it's always uphill, that's not true. So one of the valleys was when we moved into Lewis Center. We thought that that we should just focus on the move and not worry about sales. That was really stupid, and we will never do that again, because you always have to have sales. If you don't have sales, then you can't pay the rent, and you can't pay your employees. So it's all about cash flow. But the other one is we were naive. We thought that people would move with us because everybody said that they would, and that wasn't the case. So, and then we tried to use temporary agencies out there that we didn't have relationships with, and it was a debacle, quite frankly. So we started our own temporary agency out there, and it went very well because we had been dealing with temporary agencies, for 15 years at that point in time. And now we have a completely unique model, because out in the park it's cyclical. So really, the injection molders are busy at a different time because it's the whole cycle of the supply chain. So we are the preferred vendor in the park. So people are employed 9 to 10 months out of the year, most of the time, and hopefully they end up getting full-time jobs. So we have 3,500 people in the temporary agency, and so right now our revenues are about $35 million for this temporary agency. So it's been unbelievable how that really has taken off. One thing that we're very proud of is the Buses of Hope program that we implemented. So we have about 35 buses, and it goes to all different areas of Licking County besides different areas in Columbus, and we offer free transportation. But Licking County was hit very hard by the recession, especially when Owens Corning was closed down, and there was a lot of homeless people. So we actually got them back into the workforce, and that was the Buses of Hope program. I talked about our investment to add the clean room, the R&D lab. We added 3 chemists this past year, a curing room, and then this year we're adding e-commerce fulfillment, and we're also adding another clean room because it's expanding so rapidly. We're manufacturing about 32,000 bath bombs a day. Who knew? But it's kind of been fun and crazy. One thing I want to talk about: get involved in your trade associations. I'm very involved in YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization, WPO, which is Women Presidents Organization. WeBank is a certifying body of women business owners. There's 14,000 women business owners in that organization. I've been a member of that since 1999. It was founded in 1997. I was just out in Palm Desert this past week at the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year Award event. It was unbelievable, the networking that I did out there, to the point where I think it's really going to impact my business. I met with the head of innovation for Procter & Gamble. I met with a lot of other companies like Unique, met with the founders of Unique. So it's all about networking. So networking, networking, networking. I cannot pound that into your head enough. Get involved in charities. Get involved in philanthropy. It's all about paying it forward and about giving back to the community. But be strategic about that too. Look who's on those boards. Be passionate. Don't go on a board just for who the people are that sit on that board. It has to align with your mission. So that is one thing that I want to say. Don't be selfish about it. It has to be something that you love. Because mine is all about women and children and giving back to the community that takes care of us, because obviously you guys, as I said earlier, we have 22 different cultures, 18 different languages, or 22 different languages, 18 different cultures. So United Way is it really hits the entire community. So one thing I want to say, because I'm pretty much wrapping up here, but you have to have fun. You have to have fun at what you do. You have to love what you do. do, the money will come. If you don't love what you do, I mean, there's a huge misnomer that as an entrepreneur, you don't work as many hours. You work way more hours, especially in the beginning way. But if honestly, you have to be passionate about what you do. Do your research, though. There's so many people that, I mean, I really did focus on like what is the need. And I did do a lot of research before. I was naive because I was 27 years old when I started it. I knew that I could go back into the corporate world. I had a client. So it wasn't like I didn't know what I was doing. I want to play a really fun video. WeBank I absolutely love. It's about supplier diversity. So it connects the Fortune 500 with women-owned businesses because they have a mandate to spend 5% of their overall spend because they do business with the government. Can you play that video real quick? So they had their national conference in Austin, Texas, and I was a main sponsor, and I actually played this video on stage.
In a world where structural design and assembly solutions can seem unruly, expensive, and late, there rose a champion to fight these injustices. There arose...
Who are y'all? Y'all listen up. Cost, slow to market, challenge, get out of town. There's a new sheriff in town, and her name?
Excel.
They were told an innovative, high-quality, structural engineering-based assembly company had no business in these parts.
Help! Help! Help me, Excel! Help! Help me, Excel!
Looks like they're gonna be a little late.
With our many creative engineers.
And our large facility built for speed.
We can scale to any project, large or small.
To meet your deadlines.
A little slow on the draw.
Wherever there is a diverse group of industries crying out for help, Excel will answer their calls and be there.
No, first there's the pre-packaging and the post-handling fee.
Help!
And then there's the call for help fee.
Not only will we save you money with our hand and automated assembly,
Our structural engineers will make sure your project is done right the first time.
Since 1995, Excel has been blazing a new trail to provide world-class contract packaging solutions by packaging products flawlessly, profitably, and maximizing consumer satisfaction. Excel, boundless innovation, flawless assembly, coming to make your impossible project possible. Excel was proudly ISO 9001 to 2008 certified and medical packaging registration number 3009132612 in 2015, celebrating 20 years of excellence in contract manufacturing.
I love you, WeBank. WBEs have a great time in Austin. Woo!
Mosey on over to booth 1505, don a cowboy hat, get your picture taken with Cactus Pete, and receive a free gift while supplies last.
We had such a blast making that video. I mean, it was so much, and honestly, all the other videos I've ever made were like so dry and so ridiculously boring. That one made an impact, and I had cowboy hats for everybody at the booth, and that was my most successful trade show ever. So you just have to have fun, right? So anyways, just a little bit of advice and then I'm done. Just again, network, 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 have fun. No financials, the younger generation in this room, if you don't know financials, you're gonna be in big trouble. You need to know a P&L, you need to know a balance sheet, you need to know about cash flow. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you need to have 2 years of capital in the bank or venture capital or whatever you're going to have. Get involved in your community. Never risk your reputation. Always have passion for what you do. Enjoy life. Life's too short. Again, love what you do. Money will follow. Take calculated risks, not risky risks. Don't be stupid. You know what? I've seen people take just ridiculous risks, and why? You know, you gotta take calculated one. Treat everyone with respect. Be kind, and be community centric. You know what? Kindness goes a long way. So thank you.